Hello and welcome back to the Doctor Who Marathon. I'm your host McEdam, and today we're going to be talking about The Eye of Harmony, written by Ken Bentley. This is the third and the conclusion to the third box set in the War Doctor range, Agents of Chaos, which concludes the story that was set up in the Shadow Vortex, as it features the Dalek time strategist, and also continues the plot line that was developed in An Eternity Cage. Now, some might consider this the second part to a two-parter. I mean, it picks up right after where the cliffhanger from the previous story left off. But this story, surprisingly, despite the fact that they were advertised throughout the entire box set, or advertised for the box set, I should say, the conclusion doesn't have the Sontarans, which helps in my head in putting them as two separate stories. However, this story does follow up on a lot of plot elements from that story. So, despite it being more of a one-parter, in my head, you do need to listen to the Eternity Cage to find out what's going on. Luckily, it comes in the box set. You're not going to be able to get this on its own. So, sorry about that, if you heard that. So, you know, it's not really big of an issue. Now, this story tackles the Eye of Harmony. Now, one thing Big Finish likes to do is retcon things so they fit canon better, and the Eye of Harmony is one of those elements. The Eye of Harmony was originally introduced in, I believe it was The Deadly Assassins or The Invasion of Time. It's one of those two. And it's described as a black hole collapsing in on itself, but it's been frozen in time, giving out an infinite amount of energy source, which actually powers all of Time Lord civilization. It powers every TARDIS imaginable. It powers all their time traveling capabilities. It's basically what Omega had used, created, so they can deal with time travel. That is how time travel is created. In that story, it's heavily implied that there's only one Eye of Harmony, and it is kept on Gallifrey. However, in the TV movie, and later again in Journey to the Centre of the TARDIS, we actually see the Eye of Harmony on the TARDIS. In the TV movie, it's just like a strange thing that opens up with this vortex appearing out of it. In Journey to the Centre of the TARDIS, it appears to be a giant star-looking thing. And this story basically, though it's not like one of the main focus points, in fact, it's just sort of like mentioned about how this really works. That's basically why this story was written, if we're going to be honest. It's to describe to us fans, how the Eye of Harmony works. Essentially, there's the main Eye of Harmony, which is on Gallifrey, and then everything outside of Gallifrey that's Time Lord, like the TARDISes, are connected it to some way, and actually their energy, the power source, is more dependent on how close they are in a fourth dimensional space. And essentially every time the TARDIS goes into the vortex, it goes nearer the Eye of Harmony and then back. So that's basically how they've described that. So let's look at the cover. This is the official Big Finish CD cover. Sorry, there's a massive glare on the screen thing. This artwork is absolutely gorgeous. From the blue and red colour palette, and especially on John Hurt's face, I cannot find where that photo is from. obviously it's from the Day of the Doctor, or promotional images of Day of the Doctor, but I don't know, I've never seen that photo before, and I honestly, it does feel like Big Finish have either A, found a secret stash of John Hurt photos that was never released, actually I say that, this is the only one, or B, they actually got John Hurt to shoot another photo for them. I don't know, I honestly don't know. So there you go, that's the cover, and like always I make my own DVD cover, which I've put together myself with the actual image from the trailer that Big Finish released on their YouTube channel, which is really cool. Now here is the cover. It's a bit more dark compared to the CD counterpart. I don't know why the trailer does that. There you go, it looks really nice there. It could have been better, honestly, in my opinion. I mean, me putting this together, not the artwork itself. Here is the spine with John Hurt. Yes, I'm back. And you better believe it, suckers, because I am the Doctor. I am the one, the only, the Doctor. And I am the best Doctor of them all. Even better than that Christopher Eccleston ear guy. Even better than that David Tennant. Even better than that Matt Smithy Withy. So I keep doing this, I don't know why. My brain is just puzzled out. And here is the back, if anyone is interested. There you go, there's the back, there you go. No. There you go, it kind of gives it away that I put this together. So there you go, we've looked at the covers, we've looked at the details of it, the Eye of Harmony itself. Let's get into the actual story, and let's find out if it's a great conclusion to the box set. So the story starts right after the Eternity Cage left off, with Olistria's soldier, who I now remember, her name is Helena, betraying the Doctor and chucking him out of the TARDIS. Something I forgot to mention in that story, on the TARDIS at the moment it's Helena, Olistria and Kaelin, a character that was introduced in the Eternity Cage. And I also forgot to mention that Helena actually has a small appearance in the Shadow Vortex. I believe she's the girl who communicates the Doctor to tell him that the Sontarans have kidnapped Olistria. I'm not quite sure. But anyway, Kaelin gets a gun and is about to fire at Helena, but he can't bring himself to do it, and he wants to save the Doctor, who he calls Greybeard, because he doesn't know the Doctor's name. I really like I stated in the Eternity Cage, I really like Kaelin, and I'm so glad he gets a lot more to do here. It's basically his story in a sense, this story is. And after knocking Helena out, Olistria resets the TARDIS so that it actually appears as the Doctor's fallen, saving his life, concluding that that segment. However, a time bomb gets set off inside this battle, because they went in the battle TARDIS now. Inside the battle TARDIS, the time grenade, which is actually from the future, we later hear Helena set it up, which is really cool, like temporal physics, time anomaly stuff that we get there, which actually separates our characters. It has Olistria and Helena in the room as Olistria is injured, whilst the Doctor and Kaelin are basically wandering around the battle TARDIS like a labyrinth as they try to find out and stop Helena and what her plans is. We quickly learn that Helena is has some sort of an alliance with the Daleks. She was working with the Dalek time strategist all along, and we get some really we get some intense scenes of Olistria talking to Helena, said, "Why are you working with the Daleks? Why are you doing this? You know you can't trust the Daleks. What's going on?" And here is something I want to talk about, because they basically lead up her backstory and the why she did it as a cliffhanger, and not a cliffhanger, as a twist within the story, and it just does not work. And the reason for it is content. It just doesn't add together. Okay, so Alistrius basically is like, why are you doing this? What are you doing? You know you can't trust the Daleks. Helena replies with, shut up, you'll find out. And of course I can't trust the Daleks, but I've worked well with people who lie and cheat, haven't I? Basically exclaiming. And she also has this whole rant about how Time Lords are evil and just as bad as the Daleks are, if not a little bit worse. And we are invested, at least I was invested. She comes off as a needy, almost childish character, and for the first half of this story, it actually comes off extremely well. The actress, Honeysuckle Weeks, she does a fantastic job at playing this. She's almost like, she almost has like an innocent quality to her voice. She's like, "Oh, please stop, or I'll injure your other leg." Like she has that like a attitude towards her, which is a lot of fun to start off with. However, when we learn her backstory and the plan itself is kind of interesting. Essentially, because she's a Time Lord, she knows when the Eye of Harmony is at its weakest. And so she plans to take this battle TARDIS to a point in space and time where it'll be so weak that they can actually enter the Eye of Harmony and destroy it. But because of timey-wimey shenanigans, if the Eye of Harmony is destroyed, it will destroy it right after it was originally conceived. Meaning that Time Lords would never get the technology or the energy to make time travel technology. Essentially getting rid of the entire war. And that's a pretty good setup, a pretty good, really interesting story and plot. And the Doctor's got to get to the Eye of Harmony before her, and he finds out, and the Doctor learns a little bit more about Kaelin, about his father who abandoned him as a child, and he had all of these silly sayings like, only when things are at their absolute worst can they get better, which actually gives the Doctor a sort of idea later on in the story. And Kaelin just doesn't take any. He's so innocent. He refuses to shoot anyone. He refuses to let anyone die. He's just such, and the way he just speaks as well. And Josh Booth does a fantastic job at playing this. Basically, the companion of this story. However, I feel the story falls apart when we find out that Helena, the reason she's doing this is because her grandfather is a pacifist. We also get mentions that her grandfather was friends with Ceratrax from Volume 1 of the War Doctor adventure. So a very nice continuity there with 1,000 Worlds and Heart of the Battle. I really like that little connection, and it means that she's part of this ridiculous cult that believes that there could be at least some sort of peace between the Time Lords and Daleks. However, here it makes a little bit less sense, because she seems to know that the Daleks and the Time Lords just want things, so she plans on basically rewriting Time Lord history so they don't become masters of times. So they just stay as Gallifreyans in a sense. And what's really disappointing about this is that we get this massive build-up in terms of her character, that she's got something clever up her sleeve. She knows that the Daleks are going to betray her, so what's she got up her sleeve? How is she going to deal with the Daleks? How is she going to set all this thing up, and how is she going to bring her grandfather back to life? Yes, she does plan on bringing her grandfather back to life. Answer: she doesn't. It turns out the reason she's doing this is because the Dalek time strategist has told her that if she does this, which is part of destiny because the time strategist is connected, is a time sensitive, and he knows a bit about destiny and stuff. So he tells her that she's basically already done this and her plan needs to come out. And when she does this, it will rewrite and her grandfather will be back and everything will be fine. And of course, the Daleks betray her and she acts all like, what? No, you said that if I did this, my grandfather will come back. But the Daleks are like, no, when we do this, it will kill all Time Lords in history. We would basically have complete victory in the Time War before the Time War technically even began in the landscape of regular time. And that is just such a poor execution, because they make this character, she's clever, she's smart, when in actuality she's a complete dumbass. And though her more innocent performance kind of softens the blow, it does mean then that after this we learn all this, her innocent persona becomes a little bit unbearable, because it's all of a sudden it's like this really dumb character suddenly is like, she gets to overpower the Doctor and can get away with like some of this stuff. What? It's just, I personally just got really took me out of the story, and because she's basically the main villain of this story, as the Doctor and Kaelin are basically our main characters don't leave the Battle TARDIS for the majority of the story, and basically the Doctor's going around and stuff, and the time strategist tells her this just before she blows up the Eye of Harmony, and the Doctor comes up with this plan of basically Helena doesn't want to live in a world without a grandfather, and because of the Eye of Harmony it's distorting time a bit, so people are getting a bit giddy. She starts hearing her grandfather, and when he says that he's proud of her, she's basically like, no, I'm a disappointment, I failed, and I made myself easily perceptible to the Daleks. And Kaelin actually hears his father, and he actually starts believing at one point that the Doctor is his father, or at least it implies that, I think. That's the implication I got from it anyway. And the Doctor comes up with this plan that, because of Kaelin's grandfather, that because Helena is in the Eye of Harmony at this point, he's going to try and convince her to basically speed up the process so that it only does, instead of massive amounts of damage, it only does a little damage, and it's self-contained to this Battle TARDIS, and the Daleks essentially lose. And there's a really great moment where the Eye of Harmony on this Battle TARDIS is about to explode, and they've all got to get out of here. And Helena is like, I don't want to be saved, just let me die, I'm a fool, I'm an idiot. But Kaelin refuses to let her die. He grabs her and is like, no, and Kaelin, trying his best to try and save her, gets shot and dies. Such an innocent person dies, and his whole world was destroyed, and all of his people were destroyed at the start of the story. The Doctor has to make a quick escape in the battle TARDIS because there was no way of saving Kaelin's planet. And now he's dead, and the Doctor, Alistria, I can't remember if Helena survives, but basically the Doctor transports no, she doesn't. The Doctor and Alistria travel far off to a distant planet which should be free of the Time War, but because they basically brought the Time War with them, when they go outside there is just war, death, destruction, people burning, and they're just watching this sight casually because this is just normal to them now. And we get an ending which makes up for the main villain of the story of being very weak, in my opinion. And it's one of those things which I've been begging for this volume to continue from the last two, the stuff I like about the last two. And this part really focuses on the name of the Doctor again. As the Doctor basically proclaims, it's like, Kaelin's people are dead and they were innocent. Kaelin was innocent and he's dead. These people who are innocent are now dead. But you, Alistria, you survive. Where's the justice in that? Basically, getting to her, trying to be like, you should have died except for everyone else. And Alistria very casually is like, this is a war, and this is war. We just, innocent lives are just part of it, and we just got to accept it. And the story ends there, with the Doctor and Alistria on an innocent planet being conquered with war and death all around them. That's dark, and it really seems up like the stuff I like. And also I forgot to mention, the Doctor blames himself, despite everything being out of his control. The Sontarans didn't take his peace offering. The Daleks were the one who set up this plan to destroy the Eye of Harmony, and it was Helena's stupidity that allowed her to be caught up in Kaelin's innocent that he wanted to save her so bad, but died for it. But the Doctor blames himself that he took all these innocent people and put them into a war which they had no part in, and everybody dies in this story. Do you know how in the Ninth Doctor story everybody lives? In this story, apart from the Doctor and Alistria and the Dalek Time Strategist, everyone dies. That's messed up. And so there you go, that's the Eye of Harmony. Overall, it's got a lot of issues. I really wasn't keen on the villain. The story felt a little bit slow compared to other stories in the volume. It felt a bit like, in some scenes felt like, right, the Doctor can't just meet Alistria and Helena now, so let's just stall for time a bit with nothing really going on. Though there are some great moments with Doctor and Kaelin, but not enough for those scenes to be to feel satisfactory enough. They could have easily been cut down a bit or had different dialogue to make it much more emotionally impactful. However, there are like with every War Doctor story, there's a lot to like here. That ending, for one, is amazing. I like how, despite the Doctor being, the War Doctor being such a Doctor character, he helps where he can. He sees good and evil in people. He tries to save as many people as he can. And when he fails, he puts it on himself. And it puts a whole new light to not only his Doctor, but the Doctor's emotions throughout the Time War. And it's very fascinating listening to these stories. The Dalek Time Strategist gets a lot of great moments. That voice, Nicholas Briggs, gives him a unique Dalek voice, which makes him sound, he's a little bit more slower, clever, and a lot more insane in a way. But yeah, considering that it comes with the 2 other stories in this box set, I say check it out. Maybe it's not a great place to start off with. It's a little bit weak. Maybe it is actually a good place to start off with, because then you know you're going to get the better stories later on. And it's easily, this is the weakest box set of the War Doctor range so far, in my opinion. But the Eternity Cage was really good. The Black Vortex and the Eye of Harmony were pretty good. And yeah, I recommend it. So join me next time as we go into the final box set of the War Doctor range, to a story which I actually know nothing about. So join me next time for Pretty Lies, and I'll see you next time on the Doctor Who Marathon. Ta-ra!